gonna like stop on recording and I'm just gonna like go for it again. What's going on, everybody? I'm so freaking mad. Oh, it's not normally this difficult. Okay. All right. How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to LabCast. This is episode 5 and like take 96 of this intro. So my name is Vinny Lab. That's Rynot. Rynot 916 on YouTube. Rynot 926 on Twitch. And today's topic is Pokemon designs then versus now. And this is definitely going to be a topic that's really polarizing, and it's going to be something that your age is going to really heavily affect where you stand on what designs are better. If you played Pokemon X and Y as your first game, that's probably your favorite gen. Where Rynot and I played Gen 1 to start. And that's not necessarily our favorite gen. I think it's a little different if you're growing up as more things are coming out than things being old already when you jump into it. But yeah, so first and foremost, what is your favorite gen design-wise? We already spoke about this a little bit because we wanted a little refresher looking at designs and stuff. But if you had to choose one definitively, you're not allowed to change your mind. This is it, going on record. Favorite gen designs.
It's so rough because
so difficult.
Like, when we were talking about this before, like we would say like, oh, I think this one's my favorite, or I think this one's my least favorite, and then we look up a Pokedex and we're like, oh damn, actually this isn't that bad. So it's really, really tricky. I would, if like, you know, I really had to pick one generation, I would probably have to say that Gen 2 overall has a lot of my favorite designed Pokemon in it.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, again, it's really, really difficult because some of my favorites are from like the other generations. You know, like I love Greninja. I think it's one of the strongest starter designs that we have. You know, like Giratina and Rayquaza, some of my favorite other legends. So obviously not from Gen 2, but I like, you know, like I always really, really liked, you know, like the Unknown, I thought were one of like the coolest designs that they've ever done. Especially like when you see what they use the Unknowns for, like in future generations, like in Gen 3, in the Gen 3 games, you would go into the, when you would do like the underwater cave, almost like an Easter egg thing to unlock the Reggie temples. Like, if I remember right, it was written, like there was some stuff that was written in like unknown letters or something like that.
I think so. Yeah, my memory is pretty foggy with Gen 3 and 4. But yeah, I do kind of remember that. And the whole Ruins of Alph thing and the puzzles, I always really loved that about like Heart Gold Soul Silver. And I think that's in regular Gen 2 as well, right?
Oh yeah. You would do like the puzzles of like the Aerodactyl and the Kabutops and the Ammonite. And the more puzzles you would do, it would unlock more of the alphabet inside of the Ruins of Alph. And like there was certain puzzles that were locked because you needed like strength to come back later and like move boulders to get to another room. So like I always felt like that was like the Unknown were just a really, really interesting design. And obviously most people know this, but Ho-Oh is my favorite Pokemon of all time, and Ho-Oh's from the Johto region. So
yeah,
I'm kind of a little biased when you add in that factor. But
I don't know if that's bias realistically, because I mean that is what we're talking about.
True,
is the Pokemon designs. Yeah. Similarly, my favorite Pokemon, well, one of my favorite Pokemon, it is. I always say that Terrakion is my favorite Pokemon because it's like the most cut and dry answer. But I really do have a lot of favorite Pokemon, like Pokemon that are absolutely like tied for that number one spot are like Venusaur, Hawlucha, Bisharp, Aegislash, Terrakion. Those Pokemon are really, really amazing to me, and it's tough to pick just one. But Terrakion, I think because of the TCG, because I played so much in the Black and White era, really holds a special place for me. But I think that's also why Gen 5 would be my answer for my favorite Pokemon gen as far as design goes. Um, the things that people have issue with, like the Garbodor and the Vanillux and Chandelure, I think those Pokemon are fantastic. I think that they are easily better designs than a lot of things in Gen 1. And I know that will make some people scream in anger. But I don't know. Gen 5 is really strong. And I think about Gen 1 and 2 a lot. And I put them kind of in the middle of the pack because I love them. Gen 2, like the cards really like hold a special place for me. I remember when they first came out, I was a little bit older at that point, and I just remember the designs just being so amazing, just being so like entranced by seeing that like Pikachu holo from Neogenesis and stuff like Pichu. I'm sorry, not Pikachu.
The Pichu one, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and just like those cards are really amazing, and those designs are beautiful. But I try to think about, would those designs hold up if they were released as Gen 9? If we never got them and they were released as Gen 9, what would we say about Gen 2? What would we say about Gen 3, Gen 4? I mean, I'm pretty sure that Gen 5 is new enough to where it got the criticism it would get for Gen 9, but the first four gens are more considered like the original gens. I feel like 4 is almost an outlier there. But
yeah, 4 is kind of like that, like a bridge between
yeah,
like, and there was a lot of Pokemon in Gen 4 that evolved from evolution, like that evolved from Pokemon from Gen 1 that didn't get evolutions.
and I think that's why it works as a bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you got the Pokemon like Rhyperior and Magmortar and Electivire and Tangrowth,
yeah,
and all these Pokemon that like we had them in Gen 1, and like we came to love them in Gen 1, and then Gen 4 was like, let's just give all of these Pokemon like more evolutions.
And interestingly enough, I think that is why Gen 4 is my least favorite gen as far as designs go. I don't love Magmortar. I always say that name weird. I don't love Magmortar. I don't love Electivire. I like Togekiss. I think that's a good one. I hate Togekiss's shiny. I think it is the worst shiny in Pokemon.
It's so bad.
Yeah.
Sorry if you like it, but it's bad.
And Gen 4, speaking of shinies, I think Gen 4 has consistently some of the worst shinies in Pokemon. Some of the best as well. You got Lucario. Can't say anything against Lucario. But if you looked at the shinies for Gen 4, compared it to any other gen, it just does not hold up. I don't know why that is, because they didn't choose those. I guess it's the colors they chose for the base Pokemon.
Yeah, it does, like you said, it does have some really, really strong shiny designs, like Drifloon and Drifblim are absolutely incredible.
The yellows really shine through in Gen 4.
Definitely. And like Pachirisu going like a pink magenta is like super, super cool, but a lot of the other ones just, don't really, really hold up.
I completely agree. And it's interesting because like Gen 4 is so many people's favorite gen. And for me, I think it's the low point of Pokemon, like, for sure. Like, I don't think there is a point in Pokemon that is less interesting to me than Gen 4. And when I say Gen 4, I mean, like, the core Gen 4. Like, when we say Gen 4 remakes, we don't mean Heart Gold Soul Silver remakes. We mean Diamond, Pearl, maybe Platinum. Yeah. So, like, Diamond and Pearl are, like, the worst games for me. And I know people will like literally like fight to the death about this, but I just think that they're slow. I think that the story is just like like I legitimately don't remember like any of it.
All I remember is that it's Team Galactic and they want the legend for something.
Yeah,
like that's all I remember.
Yeah, I mean, cool. That's the same as everything, and that's why like I think Gen 4 the game was such a nothing to me. Like I just like played through it. And by the way, I wasn't young when I played Gen 4. I was like 15. So I should remember it.
Yeah, it felt like it was it didn't really feel like it was anything like super new. Like it felt like it was kind of like something that had been done before. Because if you look at Gen 1, it's Team Rocket, and it's like they just want to take over the world. And it's like, okay, your typical bad guys, typical like, gangster group that wants to run the world. Okay, cool. And then Gen 2 was made literally as a direct sequel to Gen 1.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that Team Rocket is back. You've got to deal with them again. So that's all fine. Gen 3 was a very interesting twist where you had the two different teams that ended up kind of like fighting against each other almost because they each wanted, in a sense, the same thing, but they wanted to achieve it by different means.
Yeah. I think those teams are... I mean, I think... I like Team Aqua and Team Magma. I think their motivation is stupid. It's like cartoon supervillain motivation. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, but at least it was a different twist.
Sure.
You know, at least it was like something different that we played through. And then Gen 4, you know... Or sorry, let's skip Gen 4 for a second. Gen 5 was, again, very different. And it's like, you know... Team Plasma doesn't really want to take over the world. They just want to liberate Pokemon from people.
Yeah.
And so that's, again, a very, very different take. And, you know...
And much more realistic as well.
Yeah. And, like, your interactions with N all throughout the game are really interesting.
Yeah.
But then, like, again, Gen 4 just kind of feels like, you know, it doesn't really stand out. Like, it may have been a different take, but, I mean, like, you know, you and I are both saying, like, it's not standing out in our minds as anything... No. Super creative and super different. It just feels like it was something that was done before.
Yeah, there's definitely something to be said about the team villains that that are realistic. Like Giovanni is realistic. He wants power. He's like any like psychopath CEO that you've ever heard of. Like that's just what Giovanni is. That's a real person. That could very easily be a real person. He could be like a mafia boss. It's just a very realistic thing. What's not really realistic are people who just want to destroy everything in themselves for no good reason. That's not something you really see much. And when you do, it's very hard to follow that. Like, it's very hard to build a team around this, like, yo, let's drown ourselves. Like, it's just...
Team Aqua.
Yeah, who's going to agree to that? Like, no one would think that's a good idea. But then you go back to, like, to Gen 5, and Team Plasma has a real motivation that people really could get behind. I could definitely see the point that they're making of, like, it's cruel to keep Pokemon in captivity. It's cruel to make them fight one another. They're not tools. They're supposed to be, like, friends, partners. They're supposed to be wild animals. And I can understand where they're coming from. And Gen 4, I don't remember the point they're trying to make. And I think that's why Gen 4 to me just always felt so weak, is that, like, it doesn't stand out. Some of the Pokemon designs are legitimately terrible to me, like the Lake Trio. I actually hate them. Like, I think they're the only Pokemon that I hate, because they're legendaries. They don't feel legendary as one. They're all the same type as two, which is infuriating. Yeah. And, like, you came off of the back of... You have Articuno, Zapdos, Moltres, which are incredible. You have Entei, Suicune, and Raikou, which are perfect. Wait, is there a trio in Gen 3? Oh, the Regis.
Well, there's the Regis, but also you can still include Rayquaza in with Groudon and Kyogre. So.
I guess there's like two trios in Gen 3.
Yeah. The box legends are kind of split up a little bit more than the other trios are, just because of, again, how the story is. You know, like Team Aqua and Team Magma are trying to awaken Groudon and Kyogre.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, those are solid designs too. Even the Regis, like I feel like the Regis are a little less solid now with Reggie Eliki and Regidrago, because I like those more.
Yeah, the two new Regis make the original trio kind of feel a little bit more plain, almost.
Yeah, I completely agree, because it's kind of like three takes of the same thing with the originals. Yeah,
and like when you look at Eleki and Drago side by side, their designs are a little bit more like thought out, I guess you could say.
Unique as well.
Yeah, because like when you look at Regidrago, like apart from Gigas, Regidrago is the biggest, like size-wise, out of all of the, you know, like the mini Regis, I guess you could say, because you're not including Gigas.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like it's huge, and it's just like, you know, when it uses its signature move, it just like turns sideways and just like opens like the arms and like the maw and whatever. Yeah. And it's just super cool. And then you've got Eleki, which is like now the tiniest of the Regis, but it's like all bouncy and
they very much feel like opposites, which I like.
Yeah, it's like, you know, like you've got like Eleki that's like this like excited like little like kid almost that's running around, and you know, Regidrago's just, you know, like, all right, like behave, you know, like be professional almost.
Yeah, it's true. It is like like conservative versus progressive almost, like with their demeanors.
Yeah.
Yeah, one thing that I wanted to hit on, because we could talk about this forever, and we're already like 75% through this episode. But like, there was a huge design change when they went from 2D to 3D, and I feel like it's something that a lot of people don't notice, but I think don't actively notice, I should say. But I think also causes people to either like or dislike certain gens more, and that's like the cartoonization of Pokemon, and which is, it sounds stupid, right? Because they are cartoons, like literally, but there are way more realistic qualities in the older gens than there are in Gen 6. Like I mentioned before, just because I wanted to let you know what point I was going to bring up, but Pidgey has a lot of realistic features of a bird. The feathers look, they're separated, they're individual. It's drawn in a more serious fashion. And then you cut to Fletchling, that is very rounded, like its wing is like one piece, and it just feels like such a different take. It almost feels like a different franchise, realistically, between if you just looked at those two arts,
Mm-hmm.
you'd be like, oh, that's like Pokemon and like something that's trying to be Pokemon, which is yeah, Temtem, Yokai Watch. I don't know, like something newer. It definitely seems newer, because even when you go just to the official arts, which are 2D, they do not feel like the original Pokemon designs. It feels very removed, feels very modernized and smoothed out. Um, but interestingly, I don't think that takes anything away from the designs in Gen 6. We were talking before when we were looking through the gens. I think Gen 6 might be the single strongest gen as far as like the consistency of the designs. Every Pokemon, except for maybe one, like you don't like Furfrou, but
Not a huge fan of Furfrou,
yeah,
and also we kind of collectively agreed that Spupa is probably one
right.
of the
Yeah,
the
I forgot it existed again.
exactly.
um, yeah, those are slightly weak, but other than that, and I mean, Gen 6 has some of my favorite designs of all time. The Honedge line is just simply amazing.
It's so good.
Greninja. Um, we mentioned one earlier, and now I can't remember. Oh, no, Hawlucha. Um, and then, like, the legendaries are incredible from Gen 6.
Yeah, it was very like they also didn't they didn't like fluff with extra legendaries, and I think
Yeah,
that's kind of why Gen 4 maybe felt kind of like a lower point, because it almost felt like they just kind of dumped legends into Gen 4
there's a lot.
almost
Yeah,
almost for no reason. Like there's 13 of them.
that's
And
insane, actually. I didn't realize there was that many.
when you include all the legends and all the mythicals, there's a total of 13 of them, which is crazy. I think it's the most out of any generation if you don't include the ultra beasts
Okay.
from Alola. Um, but it's just so many, and like Gen 6 is very, it feels like I think you said this earlier, but it feels a little bit more simplistic, but that
Mhm.
doesn't take away from the quality
Yeah.
of the designs in Gen 6. Like you've got your three basic legends, you've got your XYZ legends, which are great. Their designs are fantastic. Side note, their shinies are all amazing.
Amazing. So good.
Um, and because Gen 6 is where they started to introduce like an additional gimmick
Mhm.
with Mega Evolutions, they gave Pokemon some of the Gen 6. I think some of the Gen 6 Pokemons have Megas, right? Or do none
Uh,
of the Gen 6 Pokemon have Megas?
I
I
don't
actually can't
think.
think now.
Wait. Oh God. I don't. I can't think of any.
I can't. I actually
No,
don't
I
know.
don't. I don't think they do.
Okay, so either way,
Yeah.
either way, they started to introduce the gimmicks of Mega Evolution. So they gave past Pokemon Mega Evolutions, and so because they were, like we've got like the Mega Blastoise, the Mega Venusaur, Pidgeot, Mewtwo's, Charizards,
Yeah.
Gardevoir, etc. They didn't necessarily fill the Gen 6 regional Pokedex with the extra fluff Pokemon that they needed to
Make it a
make the
full
Pokedex bigger.
dex. Yeah.
Because like I think like the Kalos regional Pokedex is like 86 or 87 Pokemon,
No,
something like
I
that.
think it's lower. I think it's I was looking at this for doing the Gen 6 shiny dex now, and I think it's like 72
Okay,
or
wow. So
7, maybe 78. Maybe I'm wrong, but
So even lower than what I thought.
Yeah.
So when you look at that on its own, it's like this is a super tiny Pokedex. But when you look at all the designs, like again, apart from Spupa and Furfru, for me personally, is probably my least favorite out of everything else. Like design wise, they're really good. Like personally, when it comes to the starters, I've never been a huge fan of using either Chespin or Fennekin, just for the simple fact that Greninja is so good and so strong that it outshadows Delphox and Chestnut. But like design wise, like I think Delphox is super cool. I think it's one of the few fire psychic types that we have.
If not the only.
Nothing else really comes to mind apart from Gen 5 Darmanitan Zen mode.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I think that is fire psychic.
I think that's the only other fire psychic we have. So that is like that in and of itself is a super cool type combination and a super well-designed Pokemon. I feel I just never had been a fan of using it in the games because when you're presented with Chespin, Fennekin, and Froakie, it's like, I'm gonna take Froakie because Greninja's insane.
Yeah, to be fair though, if you hadn't seen the evolved forms yet and had seen the shinies, I would probably go Chespin every time.
I would actually probably go Fennekin because I love Fennekin's shiny. Out of their basic, like out of their first stages, Fennekin for me has the best shiny. So I would have picked Fennekin purely based off of that.
Yeah, I think it's objectively true that Greninja has the best shiny of those three, the three evolutions. But I think if you averaged out the shinies of the three lines, I think Froakie line has the worst. Because Froakie and Frogadier are pretty bad.
Yeah, Frogadier changes a little bit more than Froakie does.
Just a little, though. Like, gets that, like, darker blue face, right?
Yeah. And the rest of the body does go a little bit...
paler.
It's a little bit... it's more noticeable, the difference between the body on a shiny Frogadier versus a regular Frogadier when you compare it to a shiny Froakie and a regular Froakie. Like, it's almost the same on Froakie's side. But yeah, like, all the way through, like the Fennekin line is pretty good.
I like it a lot. But I think that Chespin's color is very unique as well. It's shiny color. And I like that, like, I also think that it, like, suits its name. Like, it looks like it's like a chestnut brown, like, red brown. And I think that's nice.
Yeah, not much else since they started designing the shinies in Gen 6 and onward. Nothing else really uses that color in its shiny.
No, not that I could think of. Well, all right, so we are definitely over time at this point. This is something that I didn't realize we would be able to talk about so easily. If you guys like this episode, let us know. Maybe we'll do a part 2 of talking about designs. You could speak about specific things. We didn't even really dive into what we think about megas. We didn't talk about what we think about, like, Gigantamaxes, stuff like that. The gimmicks that they're adding in to past Pokemon and stuff for, like, new evolutions. But yeah, there's definitely an opportunity to talk about that. But I hope you guys enjoyed the episode, and I will see you guys next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye.